USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
This is my song, this is my jam. This is my song, this is my jam.
It's the midweek drop, yeah.
This is my song, this is my jam.
Welcome to the midweek drop, where we keep things light and kosher. This week is even more kosher because this is the first podcast crossover of the year. I'm joined by Phil and Danny from Broke Twimbos, and I must admit, they're a funny bunch, especially because they just couldn't maintain their own anonymity. They did their best, but have a listen and you be the judge and tell me how they did. You can catch me on their podcast too. I was on it and we spoke about all things social and relationship based. So if you don't already, give Broke Twimbos a follow on all socials and tap into the fun that we had. With that out of the way, let's get straight into this week's midweek drop. You guys are listening to something spectacular. It was meant to happen a few weeks ago when I was out in sunny Zimbabwe, but then time got the best of me and that was not possible. I think this is the first crossover of 2025 for the Phoenix Station podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, two broke Twimbos are in the house. I'm not going to bother saying your names because you have the honor of being given two names by yours truly, your host, Tinto. So, rolling the intro. Welcome to the Feeling Station, a podcast that focuses on romantic, family, and friendship breakup podcasts, showcasing stories that people would like to talk about with the view to give you lessons from their experiences. Hey. Now, we hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful. And as you know, the podcast is popular for two main reasons. The first being I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part. Are you ready, gents?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh, please let it be Danny.
You see, I don't know where this name is from, but it's very popular and it's Kunta Kinte. So one of you is going to be Kunta, the other is going to be Kinte. I'll let you guys decide who's who.
I's the ones that names, boss. I's the ones that names, boss.
I must admit, I wasn't expecting that.
Don't take my foot, boss. Don't take my foot, boss.
So who's Kunta?
I'll be Kunta. Cool.
You'll be Kunta?
I'll be Kunta.
Awesome. So you, brother, you are Kinte. And now I'm secretly hoping that you're going to grace me with some interesting little snippets about what may have happened in your lives, either romantically or with friends or with family, because it's either or, right?
Cool.
And when the time comes when we're doing each one of your stories, you let me know what names you want to give. And then at the same time, the podcast is also really popular because they're real life lessons that people learn from the story that you're going to share. Again, I think the lessons will come out as each one of you is deciding to tell their stories. Right, so what name are you giving the person that you want to talk about today?
So the person I will be talking about, I'll give her the name Debbie.
Debbie.
I'm going to explain why.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in the 2014 romantic comedy starring Michael Ealy, it was called About Last Night.
Yeah.
It was a story of an emotionally unavailable man.
Oh.
This emotionally unavailable man's name was Danny.
Oh, okay.
And this emotionally unavailable man was dating a lady by the name of Debbie.
Right.
And yeah, so I figure it'll fit.
That makes a lot of sense. So the story is about Kunta and Debbie. And what would you like anybody listening to this episode to walk away with from the story that you're going to share?
This is great, Tinder. I prepared 3 lessons. I always think people have too many lessons here. You know what I'm saying? You can't have too many lessons.
Shamad, it depends how hard you were hit by the breakup.
So for clarity,
yeah,
this story is slightly different. Everyone always tells you a story about the other person being a villain. This story is about me being the villain.
Come on, juicy.
And obviously, because I know you did the whole naming ceremony, but we know that this is not anonymous. So I'm gonna try obfuscate the details so that I don't reveal people's identities.
Good luck, my guy.
yeah,
good luck.
I'm gonna tell you a story about a situationship instead of a proper relationship.
Ah, nice. Okay.
And in this situationship, I was the villain, and I only realized afterwards. 3 lessons.
Yeah.
Lesson 1: if you think you're in a situationship that has no strings attached, you're underestimating the power of feelings.
Ooh. Yeah, ne? Okay.
Second lesson: don't allow yourself to believe you are in a relationship if you've never had the conversation.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Number 3: your words mean nothing if your actions are telling a different story.
Hey, brother. You can tell that you're a man who's grown. Like, like you know, like a lot of thought has gone into this, and the reflection of what happened is very real. And funny enough, a lot of these make sense to me too in my own life when I was just listening to those. So the first one up is, if you think in a relationship with no strings attached, you're underestimating the power of feelings. Number 2, don't allow yourself to be in a relationship if you've never had the conversation. And last but not least, your words mean nothing if your actions are telling a different story. Cool. Kunta, tell me about you and Debbie. Where did you connect with this girl, and why did you think, I want to have this situationship going on?
You see, I've done my marketing. I can see who your listeners are, which movies they've probably watched. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The kind of things they want.
I think you should have given this person the nickname Ling Ling, because they are about to panda.
All right, Phil. Okay. Here's the situation.
Yeah.
A little bit of background before I tell you how I met this person. So this was from many years ago. That's how I felt it was safe to talk about. This is a young Dan in his early 20s. Silly Dan, as young men can be.
Yeah.
And I think I was into the idea of being in a romantic relationship, but realistically, I wasn't. I mean, I was in the streets, as they say, as the young kids say.
Yeah.
I was a young man in his 20s and so on. So around about that time, I was quite active on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and Twitter, there was certain small mini friend groups that would form around Twitter. And Debbie was someone who I interacted with on Twitter. Cute girl, you know what I'm saying? Hot and whatever, but she was in the diaspora. She was in another country. I was in Zim. So we just interacted on Twitter.
You see, the thing with interactions on Twitter is someone follows the other first. So for you, who followed who first? Did you follow her first, or she followed you first?
Frankly, I can't remember, but I probably followed her. I was a menace, man.
So something about her had caught your eye.
Pretty face, follow. That's a quick
thing at the time. Okay, cool.
It's a common story.
The roaring 20s, as they say. The roaring 20s.
Yeah, look. Sometimes you're not proud. Remember, this is a story of me being the villain. All right, so let's. Anyway, so follow this girl. There was interaction. I never thought it was anything serious. I never paid that much attention to it, but there was a little bit of flirtatious conversation that would happen on Twitter in the course of general discussions of whatever's trending and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, she then made her first trip to Zim. Mm-hmm. It was an infamous time known as December in Zim. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, Tinto.
Yeah, I have. Needless to say, I have, yes.
Terrible time. For those who don't know, it's a time when a lot of the people who live in the diaspora come to Zim, and a lot of people mix. You know what I'm saying? People who shouldn't be mixing are mixing.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
I, however, in Drimun Wamarin. So, you know, my Sodom was Sodom light. My Gomorrah was Gomorrah light. Anyway, the point is, we linked up, but in a group setting. It was a group setting. Oh my gosh, you came from this country. We're all having drinks kwa ningi, or we're all meeting up kwa ningi, and we'd all meet up together and hang out.
Yeah.
That's how I met her. Very light. A little bit of flirtation, but it was very light. Fast forward a bit of time, and then she hit me up and said, hey, guess who's moving back to Zim permanently? I think she was done with college, or so now she's moving. So obviously part of me was like, a fresh ting who's coming back into the country permanently. Nice. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, again, it was nothing serious. It wasn't serious. I'm sure at some point in the story, Phil will know who I'm talking about. Please don't reveal people's identity. I recently, this person is now married.
Let's have a drinking game. Let's start the timer. I actually want to start the timer to see how long it takes. In fact, I already know who it is. I already know who it is.
Quick thing.
So after she told me she's moving back to Zim permanently,
my
response was, "Oh, that's dope. You know, it'll be dope to link up." A little bit of flirtatiousness. I can't remember the exact. Actually, before the pod, I was trying to see what did I say, and I couldn't find the messages or anywhere where I would have said it. But I'm pretty sure I said something flirtatious, like, "Oh, you coming home to daddy, huh?" I don't know what I'd have said, but
I'm actually quite
Okay.
proud. The lessons that he shared at the beginning of this conversation are testament to his growth. Because there was a time I had a conversation with him about these very things, and he was very in denial. He was like, no, but what do you mean? And I was like, my guy. And now you can see, no, marriage has really matured him. You know, I am so proud.
We were both
I'm proud.
we were both wild in our 20s.
I know.
Right.
I'm
We were
not
both
denying.
wild.
I'm not denying. But you see, the advantage is, right, we all have outside perspectives. So I would go to him with my outside perspective to try and reel him in. He
Right.
would sometimes
Okay.
come to me with his outside perspective to try and reel him in. Did we listen to each other?
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
No.
Okay, so back to the story.
Yeah.
The point is, she said that she's coming back to Zim.
Yeah.
I communicated something along the lines of, that's dope. I'm sure we can link up when you come. Nice, what. So I remember that she hit me up. It was either like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And she hit me up and said, hey, guess who's just landed in Zim? I'm here now. I was like, dope. And it was like, let's link up this weekend. Dope. So I knew we were going to link up in the weekend. I didn't know what the plan was. I think we were gonna call up the boys and link up together, but we'll link up over the weekend.
Yeah.
Friday comes around, and one of my friends, this is such a weird story to tell. Okay, so he had Mbinga homie, air quotes.
Right.
For those who don't know what that is, like a rich older man who says, young men, call your friends. Don't worry, drinks on me today.
Right. Yeah.
So he hits me up on the Friday, and he's like, yo, what you doing tonight? I'm like, I don't have any plans. He's like, cool. This Mbinga homie of mine is like, he's going to take us out for drinks. Drinks are on him. I'm like, young man in the 20s, free drinks, say no more. I'm there.
Say less. Yeah.
Then this guy says, but I can't just be taking out guys. Can you guys get serious?
Okay.
Can you fix the ratio? Can you fix the at least have 1:1, like the bond note? You know what I'm saying? Get. So I was single at the time. Then I remembered, oh snap, this I had provisionally made, not solid plans, but provisionally made plans to hang out with this girl. I'm going into detail with this context because what happened next is kind of dependent on the context.
Gotcha.
So bear with me to give these details.
Yeah, go for it.
So I call her up and I tell her the full story. I'm like, listen, my Mbinga homie says he wants to buy us drinks. Are you keen? It's still at a very friendly thing. I'm not trying to make any moves that way, but obviously you recognize as an attractive woman, whatever the case is. And she's like, yeah, I'm down. Come pick me up. It's like, dope. So went and picked her up. And we ended up, our ratio was, because we were 3 guys and we were 2 girls. It was a very poor ratio. The other guy failed to
to connect.
It wasn't Phil Aqua. Phil wasn't there at the time. So we go out, and true to form, this guy buys us bottles. You know what I'm saying? He's like, we go out dancing, music, what, and he's just being the Mbinga guy who's like, no, these are my lighties. I'm gonna buy them drinks.
Yeah.
He buys us drinks, and we're having a good time. But this guy clearly takes a liking to Debbie.
The Mbinga.
The Mbinga takes a liking to Debbie.
Bruh.
So our conversation didn't have any parameters. It was just, hey, do you want to go out for drinks? It wasn't a date. I didn't imply that you and me are together. It was just like, hey, do you want to go out for drinks? I mean, if I'm being honest, there's obviously going to be a level of claiming, I'm the one who came with her.
Obvious, yeah.
But at the same time, no one actually said anything. So anyway, so he's paying attention to her. And I'm like, a little bit kind of like, but I'm also like, but also I never said anything. So I'm a little bit flip-floppy about it.
But why hadn't you said anything in the first place? Because bear in mind, you'd already connected on Twitter and you said that your conversations were flirty anyway. So you knew there was something. Why didn't you say more at the time? Did you not want more with her?
Tinto, when I say my conversations with her were flirty, I was having flirty conversations with 30, 40 people on Twitter. It wasn't... Wasn't it?
Tinto, if I may interject, I don't know. Are you familiar with the craze that swept the world during the 90s called Pokemon cards?
Yeah, I remember Pokemon cards, yeah.
Do you remember what the catchphrase was? Gotta catch them all. So this was the general mentality that we were operating with a decade ago. It was about quantity and quality, but more so quantity.
That having been said, this was online interactions. This was Twitter, probably with a ton of people who were in other countries, so it never felt serious.
Got it.
Which is why I go back to some of my earlier lessons where I was saying that things that you don't think are serious, like you're fooling yourself. Anyway, so you're right. I had flirty conversations with her, but I never thought there was anything specific that it was leading to. I thought we were just young people having conversations, and I mean, you're hot, you know what I mean? So let's talk. But I never thought it would be anything more than that. Plus, remember when I said earlier that I like the concept or idea of romantic relationships, but I really was not looking for one in my early 20s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even the way I was moving, I was that was something that was not no ways, not now. Anyway, at some point in the night, she comes to me and she says, because remember we're dancing, having drinks, we're mingling about in the place where I can't remember which place we went, but there was music playing. Then she comes to me and she says, do you mind if I stick close by you because I'm feeling uncomfortable with the way
this guy is moving?
His way is moving. I think if I stick right next to you, he'll back off.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's cool, I guess. Back in my mind, I'm also like, no, a fresh teen standing next to me, you know what I'm saying? Looks good, what.
Yeah.
The night progresses a little bit. And then she now says, hey, he still keeps making moves in my direction. I think if he sees you kissing me, he'll back off. I'd had a couple of drinks. Mm-hmm. That sounded like a logical idea to me.
Yes.
It was like, you know what you're saying makes sense. Yeah, because if he does see that, he will kind of back off. You know what? 1 + 1 = 2. So then we make out. The surface reason is we're trying to make sure that this guy backs off.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, obviously, attractive girl, you know, nice. So here's where the mess up happens, right? From that moment, for the next, I would say, 4 months maybe, we started moving like we were in a relationship.
Bruh.
There was never any conversation. There was never any, just from that moment, it was like, okay, so that was a good night. All right, good night. Hey, how did you wake up today? I woke up great. How are you? Or what are we doing later? Oh, let's link up. Gigi, let's have food.
Yeah.
Let's go do drinks. Or what? Oh, I thought of you today. I got you something.
Yeah.
That's what just kind of happened going forward. Now, again, I'm young and silly. In my mind, I didn't think it was that big a deal. But at some point, I started feeling like, whoa, we are moving like we're in a relationship, but no one said anything.
Yeah.
It was bad. We would rock up to places, Tritu, like a couple visiting, like, oh, we're going to a braai. You know, Kuti Danny is coming with Debbie.
Wow.
Or you know, I went out to buy something, but I'm always going to buy an extra chocolate for Debbie, or what, like that kind of move, like we're in a full relationship.
Yeah.
And then texting daily and whatever. But I was still lying to myself and saying, no, this is just a homie. Yeah, look, there's some benefits, sure, but you know, that's just my homie.
Are there instances where maybe she didn't text when you expected her to text, or she was not available when you expected her to be available?
Not that I recall. As far as I remember, it felt like the initial stages of a buddy relationship.
Okay.
You guys are just, you know.
I was asking that just to get a sense of whether, if, say, for instance, she hadn't said good morning when she normally does say good morning, you'd have felt the type of way.
Yeah.
Because then those signs would have started hinting to you that, hey, man, I'm feeling a lot more in this than I'm giving myself credit for. So
this is where my villainess comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I want all your listeners, and I know the primary target market of your podcast. I want you guys to understand that I was a young and foolish man. At some point, I started feeling, this is what I didn't. I didn't want to be in a relationship. Yes, I'm enjoying the company of someone who I think is attractive and who's cool and whatever, but I don't want to be in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
And it felt like she was hitting me up more than she should. Like every morning, good morning every morning, Aman. Every morning. Good night every night. Like, come on. I even felt like this is kind of blocking other opportunities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not that I was actively looking, but you notice people.
You were playing Pokemon. you were playing Pokemon, catch them all.
So I felt like I should have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
So I remember I said, hey, listen, so this thing that's going on between us, just to be clear, I'm kind of not looking for a relationship right now.
Ooh.
In my mind, I viewed it as, hey, I'm being honest. I'm just telling you that I'm not looking for a relationship. This is not a committed, we're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend situation. But hey, if you enjoy my company and I enjoy your company, I don't mind us hanging out. That's how I put it across. The way I reasoned it to myself was, I'm not going to be like those other sleazy guys who are trying to lead someone on. I'm going to be open and honest.
Right.
I completely thought I was a righteous man doing that. I could tell that obviously she didn't like to hear that, but she agreed to it. She was like, no, I never said I'm not putting any pressure on you or anything like that. It's cool. So I was like, bo. Since we're in agreement, aluta continua.
Yeah.
But now that I felt like I had said this,
Yeah.
I then felt like, so now obviously it's okay if I talk to other people or if I'm, not always available or whatever. Because we've had the conversation. Things came to a head one time when we were out, 32, and I started flirting with someone else who was also out. We were somewhere having a good time. Music is playing, and food is flowing, drinks are flowing, and I started having a flirty conversation with someone else, and she was there, and she reacted as one you would expect someone to react. She was quite upset, and she made a scene. So I grabbed her by the hand and took her outside. And I was very forceful in saying, what is going on here? What are you doing? Then she's like, no, but you think it's cool that you can, like in front of me, you can be going and flirting with another girl. And I was like, but did I not have this conversation with you where I told you that we're not in a relationship?
Bruh.
Then she's like, yeah, we did have that conversation. So I was like, why are you then now putting something on me that we had already discussed and agreed? In my mind, I'm completely in the right. Because I explained to you that this is not a relationship. We're just hanging out with each other, which means, ergo, ipso facto, that means I can very happily talk to someone else. What is the problem here? And I cringe when I think back because I was quite forceful with that.
Ish.
I was like, what is wrong with you? Can't you see that?
Even the way you described that, you grabbed her by the hand and you pulled her out.
Yeah.
That forceful feel that you're saying is very apparent.
She was making a scene, I will say. So that's why I was like, come, let's go.
What? A heartbroken woman was making a scene?
Indeed. So in my mind, listen, this is something that is a boundary that needs to be set. I just need to make it clear. I thought this is something that we had discussed. I went back inside and she went home. In subsequent conversations, it was clear that something had changed. I'm skipping a lot of details, obviously, for purpose of anonymity. I feel bad saying this because I know she's going to hear this. But anyway, years later, I called to apologize, to be like, listen, I've been reflecting on how I moved and I'm so sorry. Anyway, in the subsequent days and weeks, she basically said like, yo, I can't do this. And I was like, it's okay. It's we had an agreement that we hang out with each other. If you can't handle the terms, then that's on you later. Maybe 2 months after this incident, I was out having lunch somewhere. I was having lunch with someone who's not a romantic interest. It's a girl who I know who happens to be someone that I'm friendly with and whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't one of those things. But anyway, we were having lunch and catching up and whatever the case is. And we were actually even waiting for someone else to join us. Then she comes in with some guy and then she sees me. So we haven't spoken in the last maybe month and a half. So she sees me sitting with this girl.
So hang on a sec. Did I miss something? So this altercation or this interaction happens.
Yeah.
And then things obviously changed. When you say they changed, you're basically saying that you stopped talking.
Yes.
Like,
so she said I can't do this anymore. I can't interact like this because you're saying this, but you're acting like this. And I was trying to say, no, I wasn't acting like anything. I thought I was quite clear about what this arrangement is. So she's like, I can't do this. There were a few fights and back and forths in that period. I can't remember the exact wording of what happened. This is 12 years ago or 13 years ago or something. But ultimately what it ended up in is us not talking anymore. I mean, I was a little sad because I felt like, I did enjoy her company and it was cool hanging out, but like also, whoa, I'm not trying to get in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so now this situation happens where I bump into her at somewhere where we're having lunch. So she comes in with some guy. So I see, and then part of me is like, who's that? But the other part of me is like, at least she's with someone else now. So, hopefully things won't be awkward. During lunch, she comes and she says, what's my name again? Kunta.
Yes, Kunta.
She's like, Kunta, I need to talk to you. And I was like, here we go again. So I step out from thing. And then she's like, nah, but like so quickly, like a few weeks later and you're already with someone else. So I said, excuse you, you came in here with someone else? Like, no, that's my uncle. And I was like, yeah, right. And she's like, no, that's my uncle. I'm literally coming here to have lunch with my uncle. And then I don't know why I didn't, like, this is not a romantic interest. This is a friend of mine. But I think I also felt like it doesn't matter even if it is a friend or it's not a friend.
Right.
Even if I'm here, like, we already had this conversation. We've spoken about this. Why are you bringing this up? So again, I was pretty harsh with her there. Like, yo, I don't want to hear this. To make it worse, when I go back now to sit down, this friend of mine is like, what was that all about? And I explained to her, no, it's this girl who's like, she crazy, man. She like into me. And someone once said, a man is very quick to describe a woman being crazy. Man, that girl crazy.
Yep.
But they'll never be there to tell you the story of, baby, I miss you so much. Where you at? Sha, I'm thinking of you right now. All you can tell about is like, this girl crazy. I don't know why. She's just all over me right now. Anyway, so then she's like, yeah, that's crazy. Like, honestly, by the way, didn't she even come here with someone else? And then she's like, yeah, I think that's like her uncle or something. So what she does in her mischievousness, she's like, let's screw with her. And then she just stands up and comes and sits on my lap. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just screwing with her.
Bruh.
And I was like, to us, it was like a funny thing. Like, come on, don't do that. That's funny. Anyway, and then continue with our lunch. And then
it's a miracle he's still alive, right? It's a miracle this man's...
That's basically the end of the story with Debbie. Until maybe 2 years later or something. We maybe once in a while bumped into each other somewhere, but it was very frosty, very like, hi, da-da-da. But I then went through something similar. where someone I was super into was kind of like, hey, can you chill? I thought we agreed this is just, we're just, and I was burning. I was in the pits. I was in the pits.
When they talk about karma being served cold.
I was in the pits.
It's real, huh?
Exactly what I did is what happened to me. But again, she wasn't doing anything delicious. She was just like, no, Ganti, we agreed that this is not so like Rima feelings, Chimbamira.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, but And then she got a new man, and I was I was in the pits of Sheol, my brother. Hades.
My man was sleeping with his shoes on for like a week straight.
So I think that's when it clicked in me, Kuti. Yo.
Yeah.
I was moving. I was so convinced of my rightness that I was honest. I never lied to you about anything. I'm being open. But I go back to those 3 lessons that I've discounted the fact that we are behaving like boyfriend and girlfriend. Obviously, feelings are going to develop.
Correct.
On her end, this is what advice I would give to anyone.
Yeah.
Don't move like boyfriend and girlfriend unless you've had the conversation of, are we in a relationship? Are we date? You should be able to say the day we started dating is this day.
Absolutely. You see, I know there's a season when I was banging on about this. I think about 18 months ago. I've since stopped because I've seen that the way the world is wired, it is normal not to do that anymore. And then people, it's obviously a strategy that works for my podcast, because for those who don't define what they are, I welcome them with open arms.
Tinto's like, I need to stop.
This man profiteering on people's pain.
This man just said, listen, I'm not going to spread the word about COVID because I own a funeral home.
Yeah,
This guy's the Sackler family of the relationship world, bruh.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't do it. But it's just, it does a lot of things for everyone. It gives you a sense of confidence in that this thing is a real thing. It gives you exclusivity. If you guys had defined whatever it is you were at the time, whenever you're in the club and you're speaking to this girl, she wouldn't have moved mad because you wouldn't have dared to do that because this is your chick that you've asked to be your chick. You've got an anniversary date to work with.
Accountability. Yeah. I can't, because it's so easy to say. It's so easy to say, but we never said we're exclusive, baby. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It removes assumptions. I 100% agree with that. Look, I understand. I'm not trying to say that situationships don't exist. The real world exists. Mm-hmm. Whether they're a good idea or not is another conversation. But situationships exist. I'm saying if you start feeling there's a relationship, you need to have a conversation where it starts
very quickly. Yeah. And if you do ask that question and somebody's very quick to say to you, what's wrong with you? No, let's go with the flow. That is your cue to actually leave.
100%.
Because you are just about to get burnt. Whether you're the guy or you're the girl. Kinta, I've got a question for you. Just stemming from what Kunta was talking about there. He says that about 2 years later, he then had the conversation to apologize and say, sorry, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I assume would have been self-healing for you, Kunta, so that your conscience is clear. But Kinta, do you think it's necessary to ever revisit people in our adult lives now that we know we messed up on and for?
I would say not unless you plan on having an ongoing relationship with that person. Because you also don't know what you're stirring up. So they may genuinely have had feelings. They may genuinely have moved past them, but they still might hold a candle or whatever. And now they're in a relationship. Now you've brought up all these feelings again. Now she's looking melancholy on the couch, 1,000-yard stare, new hubby's like, oh, babe, what's wrong? She can't say, well, you see, what had happened is this old situationship just messaged me to say sorry, and now it stirred up these feelings, and now I'm realizing that maybe you're not my first choice. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's okay to just leave. It's one of the benefits of going to therapy is like one of the therapists would say, like, unless an apology is necessary to move forward, deal with your guilt on your own. Because sometimes apologizing is for yourself, right? If it's not to aid the other person, as in you guys have an ongoing relationship and you can tell our relationship is being stymied by the fact that this person is still upset by my actions, let me show them I'm remorseful, let me apologize, let me try to rectify the situation. If it's just to hit up someone out of the blue to say, I'm crazy, to what end? Because now they're going to be like, okay, Saga, what am I supposed to do with this now?
Yeah, no, you guys are right. You're right. To be 100% honest, I think that kind of situation is like, yo, I feel guilty. I need to try and do something to.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what it was. My intention obviously was not to confuse people or stir up things, but it was like, listen, I know back then maybe you have questions, maybe you have you're confused about how things went and whatever. I want you to know that I was thinking about how I acted and I was completely in the wrong. And this is not to try and move anything. I just want to let you know that I've really thought about how I moved, and that was villainous behavior, and I'm sorry about it. And to her credit, she was just like, I appreciate that, cool. And then that's how it ended. Yeah, well, so here you go, Tinto, something a little bit different for your podcast, a situationship where the person telling the story is the villain. I even recognize as I tell the story, we are all inclined to kind of defend ourselves a little bit, and we don't want to make ourselves look as bad as possible. Even as I tell the story, I could tell, like, no, maybe I should be a bit more raw about how bad I was, but I did the best I could.
You did a fantastic job.
I think this is your best ever episode.
This is going to be a bang. It's going to be a bang. It's going to be a...
By the way, if you want to hear Tinto's story about this person who broke his heart, come listen to Two Broke Twimbos. We're going to ask.
Character building is this.
Well, you guys have been amazing, man. Honestly, thank you. And for those who've made it to the end of this episode, I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in next weekend's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.